everybody. Welcome to It's in the Cards. Hope everybody had a fantastic, wonderful week. Schools are slowly getting out, so I'm sure if everybody is really busy planning vacations and reorganizing the kids for those that work. We're going to open the phone lines a little bit later. I'm going to continue this week on people because I have been getting questions from several people since last week's show wanting to get some more info on starting out and wanting some additional tips and things like that. So if any of you are out there and I don't address some of your concerns that you have and information that you're looking to know, and the phone line's open, you can feel free and call in and address the specific topics. I touched last week a little bit on having some code of ethics, things that you will and won't do, such as maybe an age limit, what that age limit's going to be. Confidentiality is an absolute must. People know that you're going to keep what they tell you or what comes up confidential. Also health. A couple health questions actually came in since addressing that last week. And yes, there are some readers out there that will touch on health. I am not one of them that will. For my personal viewpoint, it's something that, should not be done because there's so many different possibilities out there with anything that could be the problem. And a medical doctor's needed because they also know your past medical history and possibilities that different issues could be. So that will never get addressed by me at all, because I just will not go there other than to tell you to go see a doctor and specialist or whatever you think you might need. And if you're not getting answers at one doctor, keep going for, another opinion, or if you narrow it down to a specific thing that could possibly be wrong, go to a specialist. See if somebody can recommend one, or, call around, ask your personal medical doctor. I will not address it. I had a contact from someone actually wanting me to, and when I explained that that's something that I will not do, they came back at me. I don't want you diagnosing. I want you to tell me what the doctor should be looking for. No, that's not going to be done. You know your symptoms, and like I said, there's lots of different things that can be the cause of different illnesses. Some things are even harder to diagnose than others, and in some cases it may take a bit longer to figure out what is what that's going on with you. Same thing with pregnancy. No. You're asking about pregnancy. If you're asking about pregnancy, you're concerned because you're late. You are late because A, you're pregnant, B, you're not. Either way, a doctor is needed. Because if you're find out what is causing you to not be getting your menstrual cycle, and get on the bottom and on top of that. So medical will never, under any circumstances by me, be addressed at all. So I wanted to make that clear up front again and address that. Besides your code of ethics, one thing that ends up, people have a big problem with when they're starting out is charging. Some people have a problem charging at all, and others, they know that doing it for free, you're never valued, you're never um, appreciated, you're hounded, basically, by people that just have no consideration what you're doing, if you're even available. They just all of a sudden see that you're online someplace and send out an IM throwing questions at you, and you know, a lot of disrespect is done in most cases with that. So if you know you are going to definitely charge, then the first issue is how much are you going to charge? Along with where are you going to go to get started and established? And those two things go hand in hand somewhat. That's why I'm lumping them together. Some places, there's tons of places online, phone lines. Some do it through the video cam. Some do it through an instant message program. And with those places, there's fees that are incurred being a reader. Some are 50-50. There's some that after the fees add up based on, depending on the amount you're charging per minute, you can end up being, you know, paying a 60 to 75 split and you're only getting 25%. Again, it depends on where you're reading online, which system you're using, what their charges and fees are. They do connection fees. Some of them even do a sign-up fee to even turn in an application of interest. So that is one of the possibilities, but you want to check, you know, everything out thoroughly with each one of those places that are out there that you may come across. You can do it at events, at a table someplace that's in your area. You know, some people even set them up at flea markets. It gets your name out, get business cards, give the business cards out. That gets your name out there. That gets your website out there. If you have one, and you should put one up, even if it's just a little something to start getting established. There's tons of things with that, and those also determine what you're going to. Some of the lines, the phone lines and things, have a set rate of whatever it is per minute that all the readers charge the same amount, so that you don't have some charging maybe $2-3 a minute, and others are charging an outrageous $10 and $15 a minute. So there's that. There's also the consideration of the split. Doing it online, if you're able to determine your own rates, gives its own issues as well, and dilemmas, such as, you know, you start out on one of those. It's the norm for most people to start out at whatever the lowest rate per minute is. That gets you people calling you. There are a lot of people out there that only look for the new readers that are out there and will only connect to them until you get clientele. Then that sometimes ends up in a dilemma of, when do I increase the charge per minute? You got the clientele, you have the feedback, you know, everything's going fine, but then people get stuck with the fear of, if I raise it, I'm going to lose all these clients that I established. And that is true. You would lose some. But then on the other hand, you get additional people, because there's people from the other spectrum that have the philosophy, if you're charging the very minimum rate per minute, then you can't be that good. You don't know what you're doing, whatever the belief of that is. Others will, so you'll get those people. The thing that gets tiresome when you're at the lowest rate per minute on one of these sites is you do get the, I'm trying to come up with the really gets annoying clients, the ones that sit there at the computer and they Google all kinds of psychic and psychic hotlines, the psychic junkies, and they just psychic hop from one reader to another, and you get the questions where, I just met him last night and I know he's the one, and I fell in love and I know he loves me, and I'm going to see him again and we're going to get married, right? You get the am I pregnant questions, and having to tell them go see your OBGYN. You get the questions that people aren't going to put out lots of money for. You get the less serious clientele, and I hate to word it that way because in their mind it is serious. But from our end, it's another one where you're sitting there and rolling the eyes. So there's that aspect to consider if you're going to go online to one of the 800 lines and do readings. If you're doing it on your own, you still have the same dilemmas. How much to charge? You do run into, people. It's not a great economy. People do watch their money. Every time of year there's an excuse. Summertime, people are on vacations and they're saving their money for that. Then you go get into the fall and the end of the year, and it's the holidays and back to school, and then the holidays, and people are saving the money for that, and you tend to run into that as well. But at least you have a bigger control over what you can charge, because you're not splitting with anybody, unless of course you had to put out money to rent a space someplace. It's your booth that you have, but that would be the only expense, and all the money coming in at that point is yours. So money and how to get started are two of the biggest issues everybody goes through. Even as you get established, you still go through it, fiddling what the right price is. When I'm at events and things like that, especially when there's other activities and all going on where people are going to have, other additional money to spend to put out for what they might want to do, I put that into consideration. So I tend to do a variety of price ranges and different types of readings. The last big event that I did, the fundraiser, it was, a lot of family activities, lots of additional money on other things being put out. So for those that something quick, maybe never even did it before, so they didn't even know what it was. I did a short, quick 3 card mini reading. So like what I do here when you call in for one. And it was 3 cards for $5 that I did. Um, pulling out a five, people won't think as hard about it. But, pulling out rates per minute and things like that, they're going to think twice, especially when they have other things to spend their money on, and the children also were there. And you have the food expense and everything else. So I ranged all the way up to $50 readings. So I had the range of $5 up to $50. And what happens with that is the $5 ones tend to be the people that maybe never had a reading before, as I said, and they just want to try it out. They're not sure what it is, or they do, and it's something different that they don't seek to go do, and you're there, you're set up. I'll give you $5 and see what this is about and what's going on. The more expensive readings that you get are people that have been to you in the past at the event, or even, private regulars through the phone and stuff, through your website. They know what you're about, what your readings are, and they'll put out a higher priced amount to get a more expensive, longer involved reading. So that's another consideration when you're set up somewhere. What kind of an event is it? What's the other additional expenses that people are going to have to help try to figure out the price range of what you're going to charge? What is a reasonable price, I'm being asked? Well, what's a reasonable price? Well, that's, everybody, I think, has their own opinion on that. There's, with anything, with getting home repairs done or anything, there's the philosophy, cheap doesn't always mean bad. Expensive also doesn't mean the best, or that they know what they're doing. So everybody has their own, on the site, $8, $10 and up a minute is insane and not at all reasonable. But I'm not a millionaire, so I don't know how much business they get. They seem to, but you also have to keep in mind that a lot of these readers where you see $10 a minute, $15 a minute, what they do is, if they have established clients come into them, a lot of them, they don't publicize it, but they honor from 5 years ago what their original rate was when you first found them. Maybe you're only paying $5 a minute. They will continue to honor that rate. But a new person, whatever the fee is on there per minute, that's what you're going to be paying. Has anyone asked for a refund? There's been tons of cases with that. I have not yet experienced it. I have not taken money and not done a reading, or have stopped a reading. That where I've stopped the reading and actually chose to return the money has only happened twice. And it was for 2 different reasons, and it was my choice to do that. It wasn't asked. I have all the time you do run into a lot of the times where you're doing a reading and the person just sitting there and nothing's applying, and you're thinking, okay, this isn't going good. Um, but it clicks later on. I compare it kind of like to mediumship. When you go see a medium and you have in the back of your mind, you're hoping mom or dad will come through a specific person. And you're getting your reading and the information's being given to you and you're just sitting there, I have no clue who this is. And it clicks later. And the reason you don't have a clue is because you went there focusing on mom. And it's not mom that went through, it's actually Uncle Harry that came through. So all the info is pertaining to him, and you're not focused on him, you're focusing on mom or dad or grandma. And then it clicks later after the reading that, oh, I can make heads and tails out of that. It wasn't who I thought. There's been comments in the chat room that it's happened. Yes, the delay fact. And actually a couple months later, what's the difference between a psychic and a tarot reader, if any? I have not, I'm sure there probably are, beginner readers that get so focused on the meanings that's in the little white book. But I've never come across a tarot reader that doesn't have some psychic abilities. Regarding whatever level, that's another question. But if a psychic the psychics don't use the tarot cards. They don't use any tools. The tarot cards, mainly, especially when you're at an event and the person is live in front of you, lots of times it's for show. People want to see something in front of them. They don't want to just be sitting there looking face to face at you while you go babbling info. Some people do want that, but a lot of people, they want to see the image. The images, they can relate to the reading and the info that's coming out based on what might be going on. And I keep pulling cards here randomly doing it. So they can look at the images and relate easier. So a tarot reader would be just somebody that goes strictly by the book meanings, the traditional meanings given. How do you know if someone has psychic abilities? That's a good question and gets asked a lot. Everybody does. People just call it different wordings. I personally do hate the word psychic because the word psychic has tons and tons of meanings. You can ask 10 different people, what does being a psychic mean to you? You'll get a lot of different answers, if not 10 different answers. Some think that it means everybody can commune with the dead and bring spirit through. Some people think, we know everything. We're fortune tellers. We're going to tell everything that's going to take place in the future for you. Some people think we're mind readers. Everybody is psychic, intuitive. Everybody has gut instincts, women's intuition. That's nothing more than psychic abilities. It's just a matter of some people more open to it or not. I used to be friends with someone who was, well, a Bible belter. I did not inform for the longest time what it was that I did because I didn't want the lectures under the false beliefs around it. There's, always assumptions that goes on, and the point of that, me saying that is, you know, I get my information from God, from up above there, and her being a Bible belter and heavily into it, she talks directly to God. We call it different things. Yes, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I'm not Wiccan. I'm not pagan. People assume that I am because of what I do. But she just, you know, picked up on things and would know, and she would just walk around saying, well, God told me. He talks to me every single day. I ask the question and he speaks to me. Well, that's the psychic abilities there. That's the connection to the higher source. The word psychic, though, would have been screamed at, because it's not looked at that way. And it's different upbringings, different beliefs, but everyone is. Some are more open to it. Lots of things occur people don't pay attention to, throw it up to coincidence and things like that. They don't listen to their gut instincts. But that's, something as mundane as deciding for whatever reason to go to Dunkin' Donuts for your coffee instead of the convenience store down the street please go to. Could be a simple matter of if you went to the convenience store this morning, that car accident that you saw on the news could have been you. You don't know. You were guided to go elsewhere, to go a different direction, make a right instead of your normal left. That's all psychic abilities, if you want to call it that. It's God, it's angels, it's intuition, whatever title people give to it. It's all the same. It's ethics, really, and the wording that people choose to give it. Also with I'm looking at the time. Time's going quick. I'm gonna open up the phone lines if you want to call in. Have specific questions. I know a few of you have contacted me over the week. Wanting tips because you do know the cards, and it's like, okay, I know how to read. Now what do I do with it? And I want to address some of those burning questions that you have that's causing confusion. There's a lot of things that are overlooked and people don't give thought about when they decide, I want to do this professionally, and do this for a living. The rates, the code of ethics, the things we already discussed. There's also the fact that people are coming to you with heartache. They're coming to you with their current life situation, their current life devastations. You have to know that going in. Don't do this as a game and think, what a quick, easy way to make a buck. It looks all cushy and nice. It's a lot of work. If you're an empath, like I myself am. You have to learn not to absorb their emotions, not to feed off of their upset, off of their heartache, off of their tears, off of their anger and frustration. You have to be able to block that off and be able to do the reading and stay grounded. People don't consider that, and they get drained really, really quickly. Um, Not listening to your gut instincts always gets one in trouble. Yes, it does. um, but you have to consider that because somebody comes to you for a reading, they have something going on. Everything's hunky dory and rainbows and butterflies. They're going about their life with a smile on their face, not concerned about anything. It's not easy to block it. No, it's not. It takes practice. Um, and there's all different kinds of techniques to do that because not everything works for everyone. There's not one standard way of doing it. It's not a one size fits all type scenario, in fact, like anything else. But yet, that has to be strongly understood because are you going to be able to handle that when you're doing a reading for somebody, all of a sudden they're going to start crying and sometimes in hysterics? Um, are you able to handle that and calm them down and, you know, being sympathetic is different than, you know, absorbing their energy and feeding off of it. There's going to be situations where people insist, oh, no, he or she can sit here with me and it's a couple reading. And there's some, you know, not good stuff coming up that you're getting. How are you going to deal with that when the other person sitting right there? How are you going to deal with questions like, is he or she cheating? Are they having an affair? How are you going to deal? You have to know these things up front because if you didn't consider it and out of the blue, it comes up, you're sitting there and saying to yourself, oh shit, now what? Do I tell them? Don't I tell them? Basically, and I can't, again, it's like how to block yourself. There's no set way for everyone to do it, but when I started reading, there were things that I knew I did not want to know about, or that I was choosing not to read at all on. Angel and health being one of them. The information doesn't come to me. I don't get health information because that was, you know, part of my boundaries immediately. And I just, you know, made it up. I don't want to know it. I don't want to get it. Once in a blue moon, I might pick up, you know, somebody's been extra tired or whatever, and it's just, okay, you know, you might want to get that looked into if it's, you know, for an extended time or more tired than norm. But I don't get the information that I have requested not to get. You have to determine, has there ever been a time when I held information back? No, but there's times where you're careful how you present the information. Is that one and the same? Some people may consider that being the same. There's there was a situation just recently. The woman came to me, she's getting married, and there's all kinds of issues going on. And it was with a significant other. And she was determining and deciding whether to leave or not leave. All of this was coming out, and there were things going on that she knew about and didn't know about. Um, it was a whole lot of things going on. She already knew he was cheating. I never had to say it. She knew it. The cards, pictures in the cards had shown it. Was that withholding because I didn't come out and say it? Some of you might consider withholding. The problem with this type of situation, and I want to address it because it's another thing people don't think of. You can have a best bud of the opposite sex that you're not married to or dating, and it could reflect and show up in some cases as being an intimate relationship and an affair, when it just might be at this moment they're closer to one another than the two of you are. So again, going professionally, you have to be very careful with what you're doing, with what information comes through, and what it is you are telling. Affairs is another thing that it's really obvious. I won't address it. What I do address is other issues, because the affair, that's just something you want to grab onto. I'm not throwing affairs off as a nothing, no big deal. It shouldn't be a marriage or relationship breaker, but there's other underlying issues long before this affair came up. And I'm a reader that gets to the heart of the matters. I don't want to see the current surface things of, the picking up the underwear and the clothes and leaving the toilet seat up and all that nonsense, doing it day in and day out for all these years has driven you nuts. I want to get to what the real, actual issue is. What do I think of people who accuse card readers of fishing for information and reciting it back? It goes on, unfortunately. That's a situation that falls under the category of false beliefs. We're generalizing because, you had one or maybe even several, many encounters where things like that were done, that all readers do it. Or all readers are going to turn around and tell me the reason why the marriage is the way it is, or I'm having issues at work, is because I'm cursed, or a spell was put on me. Because you had reader after reader tell you that, and people think that that's all we do. Unfortunately, it happens. There's, the thing where people believe, we're Satan worshipers. I'm in the backyard, holding rituals and killing chickens or whatever. False beliefs, false accusations, because they've run into it. It's like saying all cops are dirty because you used to know a dirty cop or ran into one, or all lawyers are crooked, whatever. It falls under the same category, except as readers, we hear it more often because there is so much out there negative. And actually, this is one of the other considerations. Good questions, because things are in line of things to consider when you're going to read professionally. I never thought I would read professionally because of the things that I just mentioned. All the con artists and scam artists that are out, the reputation that they have given it. I never, ever, for those reasons, intended on doing this at all professionally, let alone take money for it and everything else that I have done in almost the decade that I've been doing this. And ironically enough, the scammers and the cons that do all those things that I just discussed were actually what had me make up my mind I needed to do this really. Because if everybody with morals and scruples stayed away, then it would become a thing where, yes, all readers out there are no good. They're con artists, whatever. So what kept me from doing it was actually what had me end up doing it professionally, do these kinds of shows, because it's got to be known what to look out for with a reader, what to be aware of, and things like that, and educate people rather than just scare everyone away. Phone lines are opened, are they?
Yep.
You have that opened yet? Yeah. So you can call in if you have a question, or if you'd like a quick mini reading. Another consideration that I get a lot, but if you're at the point of wanting to read professionally, you already have a deck or a couple decks that you're enjoying. But this is for next week. I just didn't have time to go over it. A peek of Chipper's newest treasure, the Bargains Tarot. And this deck, we're going to talk about it next week when I have the chance to go through it. It's a round deck with round cards. Really big. They barely fit into my hand. They're at the tips of my fingers stretch around it. But that's a quick teaser of Chipper's new deck. How were decks properly disposed of? Good question. What do you do with those decks that you're missing a card or two, or they just got crappy or torn? There's lots of different things. People have actually gotten crafty with their old, unused decks. So rather than dispose of them, everybody has their own beliefs. Some believe they, should be buried, things like that. Rather than dispose of them, if you're doing this professionally, here's a couple of ideas. People have been known to take their information printed off and scotch tape it to the back of the cards. And when you're done with a client, you shuffle your deck that you no longer read with. You shuffle the cards, fan them out, have them pull a card, and let them take it with them. Of course, let them know what the meaning of the card is, what it's about. Well, let them take it with them. And then on the back is your contact info, your website address. Lots of people, that's not something to do. There's lots of people that do that. And you could find somebody that could use a deck instead of disposing of it. There's people that make crafts out of them. You might want to even, if you have a notebook or something that you maybe you keep track of your client's information in their contact info, things like that. Maybe you want to take some of your favorite cards from that deck and glue them to the cover of the notebook that you're using. Um, there's lots of different things. People are becoming more and more crafty with the tarot cards and what to do with them rather than just dispose of them, bury them, or trash them, or whatever. I personally, I don't have the time anymore. I used to be a crafter. That's what I used to do nonstop, and I can't be bothered anymore with any type of craft. So I personally would use it as the giveaway with the info that's the back of it. I have one deck where my Ten of Pentacles has gone missing in the house. It's been missing, I think, for about 2 years now, has not shown up. I know it's in the house. Eventually it's going to show up. I haven't done anything with that deck because the moment I start using it for the idea of the business cards and giving it away, I'm going to find that Ten of Pentacles and it's going to turn up. Um, so I just have it aside and, you know, eventually the card will show up where it won't and I will decide, okay, had it long enough. You might also come across the deck, there's nothing the matter with it. You're just not able to read with it. You can't connect with the deck. And there's lots of reasons that that can happen. You can go on tarot forums and things, trade deck, trade it. Maybe somebody out there is looking for that deck, and that person has a deck that doesn't associate with them and agree with them. They'll swap with you. But there's all kinds of beliefs with the disposal. Also with, I got asked this week, I got PM'd and on Facebook, they just want their first deck and they wanted to know how to break the deck in. Start reading with it. There's beliefs to, you know, put it under your pillow overnight. You know, if you mean just a certain way to get it to read, just start reading with it. Some to familiarize yourself with it. One card at a time, do a card of a day, go through it. What do I mean with not being able to read with it? There's just some decks that you can't connect with. You get no information. It doesn't radiate with you. It could be because of the images on it. It could be because not all decks have illustrated pip cards. The pip cards is the minor arcana cards. The four suits, swords, wands, cups, and pentacles, 1 through 10. There's actually a lot of decks where you don't see this picture. This is the 6 of swords, and on a lot of decks, all you see is 6 swords positioned in some kind of uniformed way. Maybe 3 and 3, standing up and down. New readers are not going to be able to read with that. Experiencers might not even want to read with it. If you do a lot of face-to-face readings, the clients like to see the imagery on the card. Some cards maybe just you won't be able to connect with it because they Well, there's some decks out there that are based on like a specific writer or author. If you're not familiar with that writer or author, you're not going to be able to get the full meaning of the deck. Because that means besides the basic throw meanings for each card, they incorporated a specific scene through a specific book that the author wrote that radiates the meaning even clearer, more clearly. So if you're not familiar with the books or the author or any of their work or a movie, whatever it might be, you're not going to be radiating the deck. There's some fairy tale decks out there. You might not radiate with a lot of the fairy tale scenes that are used, not know the fairy tale at all. So that would be, do you want to read up on it and learn that aspect of the cards? How many of the cards are a fairy tale story that you're not familiar with? You might not want to if it's too many. If you know the majority of them, and maybe it's only one or two fairy tales you never heard, you might want to take the time, look them up and read them. Right, like seasonal decks. I do actually. The only seasonal decks that I really have is for fall and Halloween. However, I have an outright Halloween deck. It's Halloween pictures with the kids in costume and the ghouls and the ghosts and the pumpkins and all of that as the suits. There's decks that were not specifically designed for Halloween, but be used that way, but they're ghouly or vampire decks with the Halloween look. Some people choose to use them just at Halloween time, rather than all year round. It gives a little change of pace to do that. The fall deck that I have is, it's called Tea Leaves or something similar. And it's a pastel drawing of a leaf, different type of leaves on each card, and rather than the image, the entire or most of the card, the leaf is in the center. There's a lot of border because it's basically in the center, about this much space around it, and the image is inside the leaf. And it's very pastel-y and fall looking, some of the colors used. Some people won't radiate with that because it's too much border, too much wasted space. Images too squished. Not enough image depicted. So that's what not being able to read with a deck is talking about. There's decks out there that people use for like Valentine's only. The Lover's deck comes to mind as one of them, just because of the Valentine season. There's also some ghost decks, the vampire decks and things like that. Those people may choose to use Halloween time. I like those kinds of decks for paranormal events and things like that. The ghost decks. There's one again. People may not radiate with it because each actual card, besides having its meaning, is representative of some kind of famous person that has passed. through the ghosts deck. There's quite a few of them out there. Again, that might be a deck somebody won't be able to radiate with because they don't want to sit there and memorize and learn, okay, the Two of Cups is so-and-so, and remember the background of the person and things like that. So there's always going to be decks that every one of us cannot read with. It has nothing to do with you as the reader. It has to do with the deck, and it's also why I advise people to get your own deck. It's really adamant that you've heard all your life over and over again that the deck has to be bought for you and given as a gift. Pick out the deck that you want that has appealed to you online or in the bookstores, in the holistic shops, and the person that you want to have gift you the deck, let them know which deck it is and let them buy that deck. Don't let somebody just go out and randomly pick a deck and gift it to you, because if they don't know anything about tarot, it may end up possibly not even being a oracle deck called the Tarot Oracle. And the Oracle decks, a lot of it's based off of the tarot cards, but there's not the 78 cards in this deck. It doesn't follow the 4 suits. It doesn't follow having 22 major arcanas, having 4 cards. So to have somebody just randomly pick a deck for you and gift it to you because that's your belief, don't do that. Because then you're not going to want to hurt the person's feelings by saying, you know, I can't use it. You're going to feel obligated to use it, and it's not going to work for you. So you have to consider, you know, all of that. Maybe you like a specific theme, because some, you know, the decks are more and more following themes like vampires, ghosts, fairy tales. There's unicorn decks out there. You know, you name it. They are starting to follow suit with oracle cards as far as a main theme. So I hope that answered and addressed some of the concerns that you have. That's been coming in as far as reading. You really want to give thought to the different types of readings people are going to be coming to you with, and the different scenarios that may play out. And are you able to handle it? How are you going to handle it? You want to make sure you have tissues with you. Because it's inevitable somebody's going to end up in tears. Not because you did a horrible job, but actually those you know you got dead on. Because you touched on the actual heart of the problems and issues, and addressed what they really have been trying to keep buried, and just wanting to throw out superficial excuses for, rather than deal with the outward issues. So you will have people crying. How are you going to handle that? Just hand them the tissue? Are you a hugger? Are you a person that automatically sees somebody upset and you go over and want to give them a hug? There's people that aren't going to like that, because there's, you know, a lot of people that want their own space and don't want you invading them. Are you going to be able to tell if the person in front of you is hysterically crying and doesn't want you touching them, but just wants the words of comfort and just being there? Are you going to be able to stop yourself when the sudden urge is put your arm around the person or walk to the other side of the table and give them a hug? You know, stupid, silly things like that, that if you don't give thought, you don't give thought to until you have different scenarios come up as you're reading and have different scenarios play out. And you don't, you can't pick up a book in the store or, be told this kind of stuff. You're told, how to read the cards, how to do spreads, starting up your own business from financial standpoints. Those things are out there. Um, but like with any other job that you go to school for, you're taught in school, you know, the how-tos and get your degree or whatever, but there's nothing that beats the being out there and hands-on doing and the real situations that occur. So with that, we're going to have to call it a night. We will have a closer look next week at Chipper's latest deck, a little bit, open the phone lines. And with that, I want to thank everyone for coming and thank you for the questions that I'm getting throughout the week and during the show in the chat. Good night and have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.